In today's video, we're diving into 10 brilliant old-school ways Amish families heat their bedrooms with zero reliance on the power grid. These aren't just survival tricks. They're time-tested systems that turn natural materials, family know-how, and smart design into reliable warmth. Number 1. Cast iron wood-burning box stove. In many Amish homes, especially during the bitter heart of winter, you'll find a compact cast iron wood-burning stove tucked into the corner of a bedroom. It doesn't take up much space, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in power. The thick iron walls soak up the heat from the evening fire and slowly release that warmth all through the night. That means there's no need to stumble around at midnight to throw more wood in. It's already doing the work while the family sleeps. The wood that feeds this stove isn't store-bought. Every single stick is gathered from storm-fallen branches in the family's own woodlot. What would otherwise rot in the forest is turned into a no-cost heating source. That's stewardship in action, and it's part of a self-sufficient lifestyle that avoids waste at every step. And this isn't your average factory-made unit. Amish blacksmiths often build or modify these stoves by hand. They'll add secondary air holes, which reignite leftover gases in the firebox, pulling even more heat from every log while cutting down on smoke. Instead of a straight stovepipe heading out the roof, a narrow pipe runs along an inside wall first. This acts like a bonus radiator, warming the room even more before the smoke ever leaves the house. On top of the stove sits a cast iron trivet, often holding a kettle full of water. This helps add humidity to the dry winter air, keeping it more comfortable for breathing. Especially important in the dead of winter when indoor air can feel bone dry. There are no motors, fans, or electronics. Sliding plate draft controls manage airflow quietly and precisely, meaning the stove is completely silent. The only sound is the occasional soft tick as the iron plates expand with heat, a calming background for sleep. Even the ash from the fire isn't wasted. Each morning, it's sifted out and saved for use in homemade soap, a clever way to turn waste into a useful product. Logs are cut into precise 14-inch lengths so that a full basketful lasts until dawn without needing to open the fire door. Children as young as 10 are taught how to manage the stove safely, how to build a fire, where to stack kindling, and how to dispose of ashes without stirring up soot or sparks. It's not just heating a room, it's a whole system of learning responsibility and respecting fire. Safety isn't overlooked either. A fine mesh spark arrestor is installed on the chimney cap to stop stray embers from escaping, which is especially important for homes with cedar shake roofs. The stove usually sits on a bed of hand-laid brick, which absorbs and holds onto extra heat, releasing it slowly even after the fire goes out. That makes for a cozy bedroom, even when the wind is howling outside. At night, owners can check the fire through a small mica window. No need to crack open the door and risk letting smoke pour out. If a panel ever cracks, it's not thrown away. It's recast at the local forge, allowing these stoves to last not just years, but generations. Often the raw iron comes from old plowshares or broken farm tools, yet another way the Amish keep their economy off-grid and cash-free. Once the stove is hot, it can keep the room comfortably above 55 degrees Fahrenheit, even during a brutal -10 degrees Fahrenheit January blizzard. Wooden clogs and boots dry out overnight beside it, ready for barn chores in the morning. A side rack swings out from the body to dry socks or mittens without risking damage from kerosene lamps. Kindling is often carried upstairs in an old grain scoop instead of plastic bins. Practical, durable, and always repurposed. The stovepipe is cleaned every October after the corn harvest, a seasonal ritual that's older than most folks alive. They avoid burning pine because its sap builds up dangerous creosote. Instead, they rely on hardwoods like oak and maple, which burn clean and hot. A ceiling vent above the stove helps direct excess heat to the attic, keeping stored canned goods from freezing in unheated areas. And then there's the silence. No buzzing thermostats, no humming motors. Just warmth and peace. Sometimes a family cat curls under the stove, becoming part of the insulation, and the stove's low position helps trap rising heat closer to the floor while keeping toddlers safely away from hot surfaces. Even the door handle is made from maple wood, staying cool enough to touch in the dark. Sometimes, if there's leftover heat, A loaf pan sits on top and bakes gingerbread while everyone sleeps. Inside the stove, fire brick linings absorb and deflect heat to prevent cracking and prolong the life of the iron body. When spring comes and the lilacs bloom, the whole stove is rolled out to the carriage shed to make room for a rocking chair by the window. And at the end of it all, there's no utility bill. The only cost is the care of a woodlot and the passing down of skills from one generation to the next. Heating this way isn't just about staying warm, it's about staying connected to the land, the family, and the season. Number 2, soapstone bedwarmer bricks. Now let's talk about one of the most surprisingly effective bedroom heaters the Amish still rely on: soapstone bricks. These dense, smooth chunks of rock get loaded straight into the cook-stove oven while dinner is cooking. By the time supper's done, those stones are piping hot. But what's special about soapstone is that it doesn't just get hot fast. It stays warm for hours. It holds heat better than granite or any common rock. And once you wrap it in an old cotton towel, you've got a safe, slow-releasing heat source to slip under the covers. At bedtime, each family member grabs a wrapped stone and heads upstairs. Usually, they're carried in an ash shovel with a long handle to keep hands away from hot metal. Once tucked between the sheets and the quilt, that stone turns a cold bed into a warm nest. No cords, no risk of fire, no loud fans. And by morning, it's only lukewarm, proof that it's been slowly radiating heat all night long. It's especially useful in small bedrooms with no ventilation or electricity. There's no soot, no odor, and nothing to trip over. Soapstone is nearly indestructible, too. It doesn't crack from heating and cooling like some other rocks might, and because it's non-porous, it won't grow mold or mildew from leftover moisture. It also doesn't absorb smells from the oven, so you never have to worry about your blankets smelling like garlic or onions. These stones stay clean, neutral, and reusable for decades, and when a towel finally gets scorched or worn through, it becomes a rag for the barn or for dusting. Nothing is wasted. Some families even chill the same stones in summer and use them for cooling the bed on hot nights, a trick that works just as well in reverse. Children often take turns doing brick duty, which makes it feel more like a bedtime ritual than a chore. There's no extra fuel cost since the fire's already burning to cook supper. Just one fire can heat enough bricks for the whole household, and if you're lucky enough to get your hands on some soapstone offcuts from a countertop shop, the cost is practically nothing. It's silent, safe, and simple, and like so many Amish solutions, it works because it's built on common sense, not complexity. Number 3, feather and wool layered quilts. When it comes to trapping heat without spending a cent on electricity, Amish quilts are a masterclass in design. These aren't just decorative throws, they're engineered layers of fabric and natural insulation, handmade to survive brutal winters. The outer shells are usually tightly woven cotton, often grown by nearby Mennonite farmers, and inside you'll find a blend of carded wool from sheep and soft goose down. That mix of fibers creates two kinds of insulation. Wool holds heat even when damp, and down creates air pockets that trap warmth effortlessly. The real trick is in layering. Instead of one thick blanket, Amish families stack several thinner quilts. This creates layers of warm air between each one, like wearing multiple sweaters instead of a bulky coat. Each quilt is hand-stitched in pieces, often with patterns that tell family stories or mark big life events like marriages or births. But aside from their beauty, these quilts are practical. In drafty bedrooms with no central heat, 2 or 3 of them can make a bed feel like it's heated from within. Maintenance is just as old school. Every fall before the cold sets in, the quilts are hung out on clotheslines in the sun. The ultraviolet light kills dust mites and freshens the fabric without chemicals or laundromats. When quilts get too worn to use as is, the Amish don't throw them away. Instead, they repurpose the good sections as batting for new quilts, patch holes with leftover fabric scraps, and keep them going for another season. It's a full circle system. No waste, no excess, and everything done by hand. During winter, these quilt stacks do more than just warm beds. They're also draped over churns to keep cream from cooling too fast, or used to insulate root vegetables in a cellar. And thanks to their weight, they can even help anxious sleepers relax. Long before weighted blankets became trendy, the Amish were already using them for the same calming effect. There's no electricity, no switches, and no bills. Just human warmth, smart layering, and a deep respect for craftsmanship passed from one generation to the next. Number 4. Gravity-fed anthracite coal stove. In homes where the Ordnung allows it, some Amish families use gravity-fed coal stoves, specifically ones that burn anthracite, a hard, clean coal that burns hotter and with less smoke than its softer cousins. These stoves are tall and narrow, with a hopper at the top where walnut-sized coal nuggets are poured in. From there, gravity does the work, feeding the fire slowly and steadily for up to 24 hours with no need for electric augers or blowers. Anthracite coal is often bought directly from small Pennsylvania suppliers, usually in bulk during fall auctions. A single 50-pound bag can heat a bedroom from sunset through the next day's supper. No thermostats, no digital panels, just a simple chain-controlled ash door that adjusts airflow. That ash, by the way, doesn't go to waste. It's stored in buckets and used in spring to sweeten acidic soil in gardens, saving money on lime treatments. One of the smartest design touches is the mica viewing window built into the front. It lets you check the coal level without opening the lid and losing heat. And because anthracite produces very little smoke, the chimney stays clean longer. No streaks down the white siding or heavy soot buildup. Amish families have even rigged pulley systems to lift coal sacks up to second-story bins, avoiding stairs and extra lifting. It's all muscle-powered, low noise, and zero grid. Cleaning and maintenance are just as practical. The grates inside are flipped once a year to wear evenly, and the enamel surface is wiped clean with vinegar instead of harsh sprays. Clinkers, those leftover lumps that don't fully burn, are broken up and sometimes sold to local metal shops as flux. No electricity means no dust-blowing fans, so allergy issues are minimal, and there's no risk of mechanical failure during a cold snap. With a hopper full of coal in the right setup, these stoves keep a room steady at 65 degrees Fahrenheit or more, even when snow piles high outside. There's no monthly gas bill, no delivery truck, just a warm room powered by gravity, coal, and smart design that hasn't changed much in over 100 years. Number 5. Cast iron foot warmer with charcoal. Before there were plug-in heating pads or battery-powered socks, Amish families used something much simpler. Cast iron foot warmers. Picture a small, heavy metal basket about the size of a lunchbox, with a perforated lid and a tray inside for hot charcoal. You slide glowing embers into the tray, close the lid, and place it at the foot of the bed. That little box turns icy sheets into a warm cocoon in minutes. These warmers are often passed down like heirlooms, and many are still handmade by Amish metalworkers. The outer case is latticed to allow radiant heat to escape while keeping bedding safe from open flames. Inside, the charcoal is often salvaged from the wood stove, so there's no need to use extra fuel. A pinch of ash sprinkled over the top slows the burn, helping it last longer into the night. They're also used outside the bedroom, slid under a rocking chair during sewing or reading, or tucked beside boots so they're warm before barn chores. The design goes back centuries to stagecoach travelers who'd rent warmers for a few pennies. Today, Amish families might engrave family initials into the lid using Morse code dots, or add little touches like lavender to scent the room as it warms. Safety is built into the tradition. Children are taught how to carry them using the cool wooden handles. A cracked window always gets opened slightly to allow for ventilation, an old rule followed without exception. And when they're not in use, these foot warmers stack neatly or double as hand grills during barn raisings. Even a rusty one can be cleaned up with a little coarse salt and elbow grease. No wires, no cords, and no sparks. Just iron, fire, and care. And like everything else in the Amish world, it works because it's simple, reliable, and built to last through generations. No energy bills required. Number 6. Thick straw tick mattress over rope bed. One of the most overlooked but incredibly effective ways the Amish keep warm at night isn't what you put on the bed. It's what the bed itself is made of. In many traditional homes, mattresses aren't made from foam or springs. They're giant fabric sacks called ticks, filled with sun-dried straw, usually rye or oat straw, pulled straight from the family's barn after harvest. It's a method that's been used for centuries, and it works surprisingly well. The straw inside creates air pockets that naturally trap body heat. As you lie on it, your body warms the straw below, and that warmth is reflected back towards you throughout the night. These straw tick mattresses sit atop rope beds, a wooden frame strung tightly with a web of heavy rope instead of metal springs. The ropes add just enough give to make the bed comfortable without relying on store-bought parts or noisy box springs. Every fall, the tick is opened, the old straw removed, and a fresh batch is stuffed in. The used straw isn't thrown out, it's composted to feed next season's crops. The tick itself is made from thick, ticking fabric that's designed to be tough enough to hold the straw and block the sharper ends from poking through. Instead of zippers or Velcro, Amish mattresses are tied shut with cords. No plastic, no metal, just fabric and twine. The beds themselves are built to last. Rope beds can be tightened with a wooden tool called a bed key, which restores the firmness that loosens over time. Families usually retighten their beds once a month, a routine chore that ensures even support and keeps the insulation layer consistent. The ropes are often hemp or jute, both durable natural materials that can be spliced and reused when they wear out. Everything is designed for easy repair, not replacement. One interesting bonus is the scent. Straw holds on to the smell of sun and field, which gives the sleeping space a faint, earthy aroma. That scent is a kind of psychological warmth in itself, a connection to the land. And in a world where everything is digital, there's something grounding about sleeping on materials that came from your own soil just weeks earlier. People often assume straw would attract bugs or mold, but that's not the case. The Amish know how to dry and store straw properly, and the constant shifting of the straw discourages pests. Plus, the straw gets changed yearly, giving no time for infestations to set in. If needed, the whole tick can be taken outside and beaten clean in the snow. An old-world method of sanitizing without chemicals. These mattresses are thick, some as tall as a foot, and they insulate from both above and below. In the dead of winter, families sometimes stack 2 ticks for double warmth. During summer, the same beds allow airflow and prevent sweaty backs. There's no electricity, no cost, and no expiration date. Just natural materials used wisely, and when the straw is finally spent, it goes right back into the earth, closing the loop in a way modern mattresses never could. Number 7. Thermal curtain and interior shutter system. When the sun goes down and the temperature drops, one of the most important things in any Amish bedroom isn't a heater, it's the windows. Specifically, how they're sealed and insulated. Most Amish homes use a layered system of thermal curtains and handmade wooden shutters to keep heat in and cold air out, and it's all done without a single watt of power. Let's start with the curtains. These are not thin drapes from a department store. They're made from multiple layers of wool or flannel, often stitched together with scraps from old clothing or leftover quilting material. They hang on thick wooden dowels that fit snugly against the window frame to block out any air leaks. Some families even insert batting between curtain layers to increase insulation. Cheap, simple, and highly effective. Then come the interior shutters. These are made from tongue and groove pine planks and are hinged to fold closed across the window at night. They latch shut with wooden pegs, not metal hardware, which means nothing rattles in the wind and nothing rusts. Once closed, they create a solid wood barrier that adds several degrees of insulation to the room. It's estimated that closing shutters and curtains like this can reduce heat loss through windows by up to 30%. Together, the curtains and shutters form an airtight seal. At the base of each window, the Amish place what they call window snakes, long cloth tubes filled with sand or sawdust that press against the sill to stop drafts from sneaking in. In summer, the same rods can pivot to let in a cross breeze, proving the setup is adaptable for all seasons. Everything is built for longevity. The shutters are oiled with linseed or beeswax to repel moisture, and the curtains are washed only once a year, in rainwater no less, to keep them from shrinking or fading. Cedar sachets are stored with the curtains to keep moths away during the warmer months. And because nothing plugs in, power outages make no difference. Your bedroom stays just as warm with or without electricity. Even the visual design matters. The curtain linings are usually light-colored to reflect lamplight back into the room. And because many Amish homes rely on kerosene lanterns, That reflection helps brighten the space while reducing fuel use. During weddings or holidays, some shutters are even flipped to show cutout patterns or painted designs, showing that beauty and practicality can go hand in hand. This system isn't just warm, it's quiet, consistent, and costs nothing once it's installed. Families often say the only bill involved is the price of cookies served at the stitching bee that made the curtains. It's a perfect example of Amish ingenuity. Simple materials, handmade care, and no ongoing costs. Just real warmth that stays inside where it belongs. Number 8, passive solar trombbo wall and dark tile floor strip. Most people think you need solar panels to get free heat from the sun. The Amish know better. In some of their more forward-thinking homes, you'll find passive solar heating systems built right into the structure. Specifically, something called a trombbo wall. It sounds high-tech, but it's really just smart use of sun, stone, and timing. Here's how it works. On the south-facing wall of a bedroom, Amish builders install a thick masonry wall, about a foot thick, painted dark and placed just behind a sheet of salvaged window glass. During the day, sunlight hits the wall and heats it up. Because the wall has so much mass, it doesn't release that heat right away. Instead, it holds onto it and slowly releases the warmth into the room as the evening chill sets in, right when it's needed most. Small vents at the top and bottom of the wall help guide the warm air inside. Because the system uses gravity and natural convection, it doesn't need any pumps, fans, or wires. It's completely silent, completely free, and completely reliable. And during summer, those same vents can be opened at night to allow hot air to escape, keeping the room cool. It doesn't stop at the wall. The floor directly in front of the trom wall is often tiled with dark slate or clay tiles, leftovers from roofing jobs or local quarries. These tiles heat up during the day, storing warmth at floor level where it rises through the night. They also make great foot warmers in the morning before chores begin. There's no fancy monitoring system, just a thermometer stuck in the wall and a farmer's intuition. But it works. The design is based entirely on natural timing. Winter sun comes in low and strong when it's needed most, and roof overhangs block it in summer when things heat up. Some Amish even use these walls to help circulate hot water for baths or washing, using copper loops embedded in the stone. It's durable too. The masonry can last centuries, and if a section chips or cracks, it can be patched with the same clay and sand mix it was built from. Once built, it needs almost no upkeep, just a quick dusting and maybe some vinegar to wipe the glass. The energy is clean, renewable, and totally off the grid, and best of all, the sun never sends a bill. Number 9, copper or rubber hot water bottle. Some of the simplest Amish heating tricks are also the most timeless. Take the classic hot water bottle, for example. Whether it's made of old-school copper or flexible rubber, this little item turns boiling water into hours of gentle warmth, all without any cords, outlets, or batteries. In Amish homes, it's still a go-to solution for staying warm on cold nights, especially in bedrooms far from the main stove or when you don't want to fire up the big heater. Here's how it works. Water is heated on the cook stove, usually the same water used for dinner dishes. Once boiling, it's poured into copper bottles, shaped like flattened pumpkins or, in more modern setups, soft rubber sacks. Copper ones are heavier and longer lasting, while rubber ones are lighter and easier for kids to carry. Either way, the bottle is then sealed tightly and tucked into a flannel sleeve or wrapped in a towel. That wrap prevents direct skin contact, avoiding burns and keeping the heat steady. Once it's under the covers, it does its magic. The warmth lasts for up to 6 hours, longer than most electric blankets, and since it's using water's natural heat capacity, it's efficient without needing any power. Amish families often place the bottle at the foot of the bed, letting heat rise toward the rest of the body. It's a slow, consistent heat. No sudden blasts of hot air or dry electric currents. Copper bottles, in particular, have some hidden perks. They're naturally antimicrobial, which means fewer odors or bacteria build up over time. If they get dented, a hammer and a flat surface can usually fix them, and they can last for generations. Many families have bottles passed down from grandparents or great-grandparents. Rubber bottles aren't as long-lived, but when they crack, the material is reused for jar openers, boot liners, or even window seal patches. Nothing gets thrown away. Even the ritual of filling the bottle has its place. Children are often taught early how to safely boil and carry water, usually with twine handles or tied cloth to avoid spills. During flu season, the boiling water also sterilizes the bottle, turning it into a low-tech but reliable comfort aid. Some folks even use the leftover morning warmth to proof bread dough or warm up the dishwater. When summer comes, the bottles are emptied, cleaned, and stored dry to avoid mildew. And in hot weather, some families fill them with cool springhouse water instead, turning them into chilled bed companions during heat waves. So it's a two-way tool. Heats in winter, cools in summer. No plastic packaging, no grid, and no rising bill. Just heat, water, and a little care. It's one more way the Amish prove that sometimes the old ways are still the smartest. Number 10. Charred brick heat sink. Hidden in loft. Some Amish homes are built with an invisible heating system most outsiders never even notice, until they walk in on a winter evening and feel that unexpected, deep warmth. It's a passive design that doesn't hum or glow. It's just a ceiling filled with heat-storing brick. This technique, essentially a homemade heat sink, relies on old bricks, smart airflow, and basic physics to keep bedrooms warm through the night. Here's the idea. During the day, while the cook stove or wood stove is running, a stovepipe passes through a shallow cavity in the attic, or just above the bedroom ceiling. That cavity is filled with salvaged bricks, often pulled from demolished chimneys or old buildings. As the stovepipe radiates heat, the bricks absorb and store it, building up thermal mass. Then, once night falls and the fire dies down, a vent is opened to let the stored warmth drift back into the room. The result is a kind of thermal battery. Even without an active fire, those bricks slowly release heat for hours. It's enough to keep a room from dipping below freezing, even on the coldest nights. There are no moving parts, no motors, no electronics. Just stored energy from yesterday's fire doing its job one more time. This setup has plenty of side benefits too. For one, it keeps the room temperature more stable, reducing expansion and contraction in wooden walls, which helps prevent plaster cracks or warped boards. It also reduces the strain on the main stove, cutting down the amount of wood or coal you need. In fact, some families track how much less fuel they use after adding a brick loft, and it's often 20% or more. The bricks themselves are nearly maintenance-free. Charred bricks resist moisture, so there's little risk of rot or mold in the ceiling. If any bricks break, they're simply swapped out, no technician required. And since they're hidden, there's no disruption to the look of the home. You wouldn't even know it's there unless someone showed you the attic door. Kids often treat it like a science project, checking the vent temperature, comparing upstairs to downstairs, and charting how long the heat lasts. During apple season, some even roast fruit over the vent for a midnight snack. In spring, the vent is closed and a bypass damper is used to send stove smoke straight up, bypassing the heatsink so rooms don't get too hot. Once installed, this system just works. There's no bill, no failure point, no upgrades. Just bricks, wood heat, and gravity. And when the family eventually moves on, the next generation inherits not only a home, but the warmth of years gone by, still stored in the ceiling above.